Hello, I'm Mike Hodgson. I'm the CEO of Serabi Gold, and I'm here today with Crux investor talking about Serabi's production and development and exploration activities in Brazil, in Pará, in northern Brazil.
Mike, good to see you, sir. You're here at the 1-to-1 conference?
I am, yes.
Why?
Well, it's an opportunity to meet some of our existing investors, obviously, some new ones too, and basically we're going to meet quite a few analysts as well. And just to give an update, we've probably been, I think, 2 years with the pandemic, etc., and we've been quite quiet. We've just been sort of going along, sort of steady with our business. One could argue keeping the ship afloat really during the pandemic, and really just trying to keep the recovery going. And so we've been a little bit quiet, obviously. So it's an opportunity just to remind people we're still here and what our plans are.
Well, look, staying in the game, very, very important. Lots of companies not managing to do that. It's very choppy waters out there. But this is your problem, not mine. You've got to work out how you get this thing motoring again, right? Because you've kind of like moving sideways the last 2 years, hit hard with COVID, you've working your way around those issues. But what are you going to do for your shareholders who's going to get things going again?
Well, it's a good question, and it's a slow road back and a difficult road back. And before the pandemic, we were really flying, and we just bought Coringa, and it really looked like we were going to make a real grand step and double our production very quickly. COVID knocked us back 2 years. We lost production, we lost development, we lost good people, we had to park exploration, lots of things. So really, it's only been in 2022 we've kind of tried to get back where we should have been in 2020, and it's been tricky. I don't want to bore people with supply chain stuff and getting people and all of that, but it is true. And Brazil, it's been particularly hard in Brazil as well. We had a tough Q1 this year, which was down to a legacy of delayed development during the pandemic, which meant we were very much in a just-in-time mining kind of cycle, and we had poor quarter. The grades were very poor, and because we're a plant-constrained operation, you can't catch up. Simple. So we unfortunately were in that terrible situation where we had to restate guidance after the first quarter. Pleased to say since then we've had a real good bounce, a good recovery. Q2 was great, we beat guidance. Q3 we beat guidance, and Q4 we're on target. So the revised guidance we will exceed, which is great news. And I think that's, well, considering where we were in Q1, I'm very happy about that. So that's it. Coringa, our sort of new asset, our development asset, we've got into the ore, we're developing away there. It's always got to be a little bit patient with the new mine. We've got to do a lot of development to get into the ore body and sort of understand, but we're just starting stoping there. So that's going to become a really significant contribution to our ounces in 2023, and we're developing there. So that's going well. I'm really pleased about that.
Okay, those are the mines. Big sort of upside, blue sky of this was a concept I remember at the beginning of this year. Exploration is really, really important.
Yeah,
but you got to fund it. So what's happening?
Well, that's a very good point. We've always said that we cannot fund even the development of Coringa from Palito cash flow. So there's a lot of sort of things that have to fall into place here. We've obviously got to. Palito is generating cash, not a lot, but a little bit. It's not enough to do the exploration. It's not enough to fund Coringa. So licensing at Coringa is critical to actually bring in external funding to help the development of Coringa. In terms of the exploration growth, that's being done and has been done in a very modest way. If we can actually liberate or take Coringa out of the Palito cash flow, we will have some funding for exploration from the Palito cash flow, what I would hope. But we're kind of blessed with our discoveries so far in our greenfield exploration. If you remember that map I showed you with a sort of 6 or 7 sort of large targets, and they certainly look like clusters of either lots of veins, which we have at Palito, or it's a bigger scale deposit altogether. Anyway, so either way, they're very exciting possibilities, and we've got about 6 or 7 of them.
Sounds expensive.
It is expensive. It will be expensive, and certainly one of them, which we talked about this year, Matilda, which is principally a copper discovery. What we're doing at the moment is we've invited about 6 companies to come to site. They've all been to site. They're all working on proposals. They're all pretty excited about what they've seen. We're working our way
through 6 companies to do what?
To look at greenfield, to do a joint venture exploration alliance with us.
Right,
yes,
okay.
yes. look, if Matilda is a porphyry copper deposit and turns out to be one, that's out of reach for someone like Serabi. We can
Big
participate.
Yeah,
exactly. It's big company stuff.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you negotiate something to you keep a sort of toe in there, your foot in there, and a foot in the door, so what we're looking at is we're looking at sort of a joint venture alliance where a company has the funding to come in and drill out 6 or 7 of these deposits, or certainly do some drilling into them. I think, if they find anything of value or note or scale, well, it's something we couldn't do anyway. But our belief is that we can advance a lot of drilling in the meantime. And the probability is a lot of these discoveries will be, which we hope to make, probably won't be a sufficient scale for them, but they'll do very nicely for Serabi. So the whole idea is to give all this a first pass in 2023. Which will allow us to actually advance those properties, submit these final exploration reports we have to do by 2024, which will then allow us to actually turn those concessions from exploration properties to mineral properties and move them forward.
And I guess there's a bunch of different ways everyone's going to have their own version of how they want to do a JV and what, and who gets what and who contributes what and who's left with what, and etc. So the early days, I guess, at the moment, you've got no sense of what it's going to mean for you in terms of amount of money being committed or amount of meters drilled, have you?
Well, I would say we've probably got to drill sort of a couple of thousand meters on each property.
So
maybe a little bit more.
Times 6.
So I think, we'll look 12, 15,000 meters, something like that. So it'd be a pretty chunky old, be a busy old time.
It's all shallow-ish, isn't it?
It would be, because anything more than 200 meters at this moment in time doesn't really make any sense. So you're looking at open pit, near surface type mineralization.
Right. New leader of Brazil.
Yes.
Pro-mining, anti-mining. What's it mean for you as an existing miner?
Well, there's a little bit wait and see really on that. As an existing miner, where we are, what we're doing, we don't really expect any kind of problems at all.
Right.
I think also, and I've always said, being a small footprint underground in Brazil, where we are in the forest, we're very, very kind of insulated from anything like that. I mean, big super pits in the jungle might be a bit more challenging, perhaps. And again, we've always talked in the past about the energy constraints as well. I mean, that's something, again, why quality counts as well for us. Yes. Obviously, if we find something enormous or something enormous is found, yes, that's going to be, we have to wait and see on that.
Nice problem to have.
But
potentially with this government, a problem.
Potentially, yes.
Potentially.
Yeah.
We'll do they seem to swap around, don't they? They want to know. Okay, understand. So back to the finding a partner or a JV partner specifically, that's a process which is running at the moment.
Correct, yeah.
You will make a decision when?
Well, I'm going down to Brazil end of this week. Okay. We've got a congress in Ouro Preto, the old capital of Brazil, which is near Belo Horizonte, the mining capital of Brazil. Oh. It's a kind of it's a good time to go actually, because it's called Semexim, and this thing it's every 2 years, but it's been obviously cancelled with the pandemic. So we're all going to get together for the first time in about 4 years. So anybody who is anybody in mining in Brazil is going to be there. Yeah. So it's always a great networking opportunity. Most of those companies we're talking to about this JV alliance possibility are going to be there.
Right.
So it's a great opportunity to hopefully thrash something out and advance them. And I would like to think before the year end we'll have something,
a decision
decided. Yes, and January will be, spending their money.
So 12 to 15,000 meter funded exploration program on 6 properties, your properties, to see what's there, and they'll be hunting for gold and copper?
Yeah. Some of the groups that we are talking to are particularly interested in the copper.
I bet.
I kind of like that because there's not really a conflict. We are a gold mining company, and so that would make perhaps the sort of the detail of the deal a little simpler, because there'll be no real conflict there. I suppose when you get a copper gold deposit, it might be a little bit more detail there, but generally that would be quite good. And so yes, let's see. But I think principally they're all larger companies. So in a way, and we're a little company, and we're looking for sort of interim growth, sort of modest growth. So in a way, just on the scale thing, I think they're looking for big stuff. We're looking for small stuff. I think they'll find a lot of small stuff looking for big stuff. And those small discoveries are going to be very useful for us.
We see that a lot. And I think it's an interesting conversation. One assumes that if a Rio Tinto or a BHP walks into, I'm not saying they are, by the way, anyone listening, I'm not saying that I don't know anything
Well, they did
about
come.
that. Did they? Okay. So if one of those sorts of guys walks in, it's not sort of a done deal. It just means they want an optionality on seeing what's there. They'll either find something, in which case, happy days, or if they don't, there's a lot of data that you get off the back of that, which is
absolutely. And the nice thing, but most of the groups we're talking to, they don't want to enter any kind of entity initially. It's just literally, let's drill for the next 12 months, see what we find, and that's it. And then we decide.
Okay.
So, and the data all comes back to us. We run the program.
But Mike, it kind of feels like this is a really important strategic decision that you've had to make because of conditions precedent, which could be a game changer for you. Because as you say, you've got a producing mine, it kind of wipes its nose and a little bit, not quite enough to do anything in terms of cash flow, not quite enough to do Coringa, not quite enough to do exploration. And in this market, depressed, I know gold price had a little bit of recovery recently, but you and lots of people need it to kind of pop a bit more.
Yes.
Cost pressures in country, supply chain issues in country are exerting a big squeeze on projects. Projects which are good are becoming sort of marginal at the moment. So is it kind of all or nothing bet on this, or do you think actually no, we've got enough going on in the background that we're in control of?
Well, I suppose in a way there is a bit of a clock ticking. We've got to submit final exploration reports by the end of 2020, by the beginning of 2024. So we've got to do this work somehow next year.
Right.
So this is a very.
It's like, could you got to hand some land back or something?
Yes. You have in Brazil. It gets a bit delayed, but generally you have 3 year. You have 3 years followed by 3 years. You have a 3 year exploration license with a 3 year extension, and supposedly at the end of 6 years, you actually have to submit a final exploration report, which you've either got to convert the entire property into a mineral license. From an exploration license, or you reduce. If you don't reduce, you run the risk of them just reducing it for you. Right. Which and they're not too. Yes, they might miss the ore body. So it's important that you do. It's to stop people sitting on the ground. Obviously.
Right. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, of course it is.
More of that,
and so we do want to. We don't actually have to drill it out at all. We just need to drill. The guts of it. We've got the anomalies. We've done the geochem. We've done the geophysics. Yeah. We know where the targets are. We just put like 2,000 meters into each property. Bang, 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 bang. And we've got enough to say, okay, we can hang a very loose kind of not even a resource on it, but we say this is our area of interest. We want to move forward with this now to the next stage with the final exploration report. We have to do those by the end of 2024, of January 2024. So this plan allows us to do that.
Okay. So I'm trying to think. Okay, with a producing mine was wiping its nose and a bit more. That's all that's ever going to be, isn't it?
Well, we are working. We hope, obviously, back to Coringa. Coringa is going to double our production. We've talked about this a lot, So Palito will, I think, be a steady 35,000 ounce producer. Right. Coringa will get us up to 60, 70.
For sure.
That's what it's going to do.
That's what I'm kind of getting to, because it's kind of like what you've got. You kind of know what you've got there, but Coringa is the thing. You kind of need to unleash that. You need to mine it. You're going to so permits in the process, going through that kind of process, and that's environmental as well. We're kind of
running I don't want to confuse people, but we're kind of running a dual process here at the moment. Yeah. The mine has started. The mine is in development, not full development yet, but we're developing it almost on an affordability basis, right? Because I said we're funding Coringa out of cash flow, which we know we could never do. But we're doing it, and we are therefore running our cash down. Not as bad as we thought we would. It's running our cash down, but we can't do it forever. Yeah. So the permit for the license for the process is key. That's the passport to getting some funding in to actually finish that job and really take it to the next level. We are obviously for the full process plant at Coringa to get the LI, which we've been looking for about sort of 6 months. We actually
LI, just explain.
That's an installation. That's the construction license for the process plant.
Okay, yeah.
We're working on that, but we had this interim step thrown at us in the middle of last year, us being asked to do an indigenous study, which is going on, and it's finally There's been some kind of, let's say, bureaucratic delays, let's say, but pleased to say, as of a month ago, the guys are at the site, the field work is now going on right now.
Okay.
It'll be completed by February, and we do hope by the end of Q2 next year, we will have that indigenous study completed.
Great.
And we will then get the LI from the environmental agency. That's it.
Important.
So
Yeah.
that will give us the possibility to build a process plant.
Okay.
Current thinking is we're not going to do that.
I was about to say, are you going to? Right, so you're not going to?
We're not going to, because we have, in the meantime, since we started at Coringa and got underground there, we saw the ore body with our own eyes for the first time. We started transporting high-grade ore to Palito. We started transporting medium ore grade Palito, putting it through our ore sorter at Palito, and the results were astonishing. They're astonishing. So it made us think, well,
maybe.
Do we really want to be building this process plant in this market with such great results on the ore sorting?
Yeah.
And the truth is, it doesn't really make a whole ton of sense.
Was it? But if you just implemented the kind of front end, as it were, just the ore sorter component. So what is that? How does it move the grades? Moves it from what to what?
It'll basically, very simplistically, it'll sort of probably double half the volume and double the grade. Or in fact, probably reduce the volume to 1/3 and increase the grade 3 times. So it means if your ROM grade is about 6 or 7 coming out the mine, you'll be transporting between 12 and 15.
Which makes it, and what's the cost of transport in ounces terms?
It's about a gram.
One gram.
So if you're moving 5-6 grams from Coringa to Palito, move to the Palito plant. It makes money, but the margin is not, it's a chunk out your margin. If you pre-concentrated, say 12 grams per ton before it leaves, it gets to Palito net 11.
There you go. And you're not
you sit there going, well, and it's it's like 2 trucks a day.
Yeah, because it's like a third of the volume. Great.
Yeah.
Higher grade, 1 gram out of that.
People say to me all the time,
okay, that makes sense.
Why didn't you think about that before 3 years ago, you idiot? And I say, well, 3 years ago.
Who are these people you hang out with?
Well, 3 years ago, well, lots of people think that. 3 years ago, the road wasn't paved. This is one thing that Bolsonaro did. He paved the federal highway. Yeah. So the physicals of transporting have improved immeasurably. And also the cost of transportation has come down a lot because of the oversupply of trucks in the region because of the soya business. So it all makes trucking an option, which really wasn't a very attractive option 4 years ago when we bought Coringa. So the question now is, okay, we're working our way through all this environmental licensing to actually get an LI to build a process plant we're probably not going to build.
Can you just stop that?
Well, we decided not to stop it because the train had left the station and it was going to kind of...
Was it nearly finished or something?
No, but we would have had to go back and redo studies and all kinds of things. So our current strategy with the environmental agency, SEMAS, is the crushing plant and the ore sorter was always on the front end of the process plant. So we're saying, look, this is an interim step. We're sticking with the plan. We're sticking with the whole plan that we've actually got in place. But we just want to basically put in the crushing plant and the ore sorter.
So how much that must save you a lot in terms of CapEx.
A lot of money. Well, I mean, who knows what's okay. We have a BFS done by Anfield, the previous operators. We have a PEA done by Serabi, which both said the process plant in 2017 and 2019 was going to be about $30 million.
So
now you throw in whatever you want to throw in.
Okay.
40. This what we're looking at is going to be we'll have a funding need of about $10 million. But
recoup in no time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let me say this. This does not impact the mine plan whatsoever or the growth of ounces. It's exactly the same. This does not change the mining at all. The growth from, let's say, 0 to 35,000 ounces at Coringa does not change. We just truck more material to Palito. And the beauty about all this is we've got space in the Palito plant to accommodate this. So it's in terms of this production profile, we're looking at this year, we're going to do a little over 30, 32, I would hope 31, 32, a bit over guidance, revised guidance. Next year will be hopefully higher 30s. The year after will be hopefully in the 50s and the year after 60. So it's quite a...
Can you also, given this new plan, shareholders will be like, oh man, 10 million, dilution, no. How much of this could be debt, given the nature of what it's specifically for? Or would you be looking to raise money for additional works outside of, say, front end?
Current plan's all debt.
Okay.
Because the production profile, the growth of ounces is such that we could tolerate that debt.
Okay.
We couldn't.
This is all good, Mike. This is all good. I'm trying to understand. Every company's had to adjust, be agile in this market because precious metals are not behaving like they should. It's slightly strange times for precious metals. The market, all upward pressure, downward pressure, squeeze, lovely. Change of plans makes sense. But how do you go from this many ounces to ramping up quicker? What are the options available to you? Getting a JV partner in is great for funding stuff in the future, but it really feels like we're going to be moving sideways for another couple of years, right? Which maybe is not what people want to hear. People always want to hear growth stories. Doesn't matter what the market's doing. I want a growth story. How can you change that?
I have to be honest, it's not easy. We're an underground mine. The problem, Coringa, in terms of growing Coringa, it's if we want to go faster, we've got to throw a load more capital at it.
Right.
The constraint on Coringa, it would, like with any underground mine, when we reopened Palito, I reopened Palito in 2013, you've got one heading, and it takes 3 years to get to your full full fighting weight.
Right.
And Coringa will be no different. I mean, the ramp up of Coringa will be hopefully 10,000 ounces next year, 20 the year after, 35 the year after. We can't really go any faster. But I look at it and I think, well, okay, if we could do all this, 34,000 ounces this year, approaching high 30s next year, 50 the year after, 60 the year after, 10,000 ounces a year, I don't think that's almost going on the bottom line, in terms of cash generated every 10,000 ounces. So, it's going to take 3 years to get to 60,000 ounces. I mean, I can't sugarcoat it. It is.
Yeah.
But, I think that with some really exciting exploration discovery, I'm pretty excited about that.
Okay. And obviously a lot going on. In fact, you're coming back on in a few 2-3 weeks
December,
with some other Brazilian players.
Yeah.
I think G Manning was one of the companies. We're talking about what's happening in Brazil. What are the new opportunities with the new government, and how do you have to play? How do you play things? So I think it'll be a good conversation to try to understand how you do business in country. Do you see opportunities for acquisitions? You know what I mean? I'm just trying to say, how can you get on the front foot? So fixing what you've got, great. JV partner, great. Can you get aggressive? Is there appetite for it in the market? For backers, funders, etc., or is gold, quite frankly, not shining as much as bright as it used to? Well,
it's a good question about what's going to happen with the country. I mean, I think it's all fair to say that most of the mining industry in Brazil is probably a little bit disappointed with the result. Bolsonaro has been, despite his reputation, whatever people think of him outside Brazil, he's been great for the infrastructure and the mining industry as a whole. He has been. So the jury's a little bit out on about how things are going to play out, I must say. I think, flip side, I suppose, we've enjoyed a really good and continue to enjoy a really good exchange rate because of the economy in Brazil, and that probably is going to go our way with Lula, I would imagine, a bit more. I don't know what he's going to do in terms of. I don't think he can change things that much. Pará is still, the government didn't change there. And I've always said to you in the past, state government rule the roost, not the federal government. So I don't think it'll be so straightforward for him to simply say, I'm going to stop this or stop that or whatever. I don't think it'll be quite so simple for him. In terms of actually, I mean, I think we have to be realistic with Serabi. I mean, we are, our share price obviously has suffered badly. Operationally, I think we've done pretty well, particularly after Q1. But our currency is low. That's why we are looking for debt for Coringa. Obviously, we can't dilute shareholders at these prices. And that obviously gives us, we've got limited currency to do any deals.
Yeah.
But I do believe, I hope we can actually have permitting sort of good news on Coringa pretty soon. And I do believe then when we can realise this plan, I think people look at Serabi and think, well, that's a tiny little business, for heading. They can see 60,000 ounces in 2 or 3 years, and that's kind of a nice bite-sized chunk. So, and we'll see what happens in the meantime, whether we can do any acquiring or whether we might be the one being acquired. But it'll be we can only focus on that at the moment. That's it.
Okay, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you, sir. And good luck in Brazil. Good luck down there. Not least of all because you're going to get better weather than we've got here.
Not difficult, right?
It's awful. It's awful. We'll see you soon.
Great. Thank you.